just a good old boy.
Hey everybody, it's the first video I've done in a while since the babies was born. I'll talk about that a little bit as y'all watch me work on this tedder, and let y'all know what all went on there and why I hadn't been on YouTube for a while. But this is what we're working on today. We got to fix this wheel right here. It's bent outward, and it's not the actual axle, it's the shaft that runs up through the center of this tedder. I talked about needing to do this over the off season, just now getting to it because everything else just went on. The pin runs straight down through here, and there's almost like a universal looking joint in there that allows this system here where you can change the angle that this thing throws the hay on your outer rounds. And it's bad to bend, so I've got to get it out and take it to a machinist, or possibly even buy a new one to go back in this thing so we can get it back tracking right so we can use this thing. We've already had the axle checked to make sure it was straight and true at a machine shop, and everything's fine there, so we know it's in there. This is a common thing with these 5.52s or 552s, a lot of people call them Krone tedders. We've had, I don't know how much axle trouble and problems with these things bending and everything else. The seals go bad on the gearboxes all the time. It's just very light built as far as the carry wheels on it go. The outer wheels don't really have a whole lot of issues with them ever, because they don't have near the weight on them, but the actual carry wheels on the center on these are nowhere near heavy as they should be, in my opinion. So we've got to pull that apart. Now the process to get this thing out is the main shaft that runs through the center of this thing has to come completely out. So I've got to slide it all the way out through the gearbox and out one side. If I remember correctly, this piece here has got to come off so that way that thing can drop down. Normally I pull the tire, which I'll be doing, and then this piece here off to get it loose, but I'm hoping maybe I can leave that on and just drop the whole thing out this time. But I can't remember exactly. It has been a little while since I've done one of these. This is a 2012 Krone, again 5.52 4X 7T, 4-star tedder. They do okay. I've went over a lot of the things that I don't like about them. In their day, back in 2012 when these things were being made, this was the best tedder on the market. I think there's some better options now. I think that Krone needs to update these things severely, because they're still building the same thing pretty well. And there's a lot of changes I went over in review videos on this thing that I'd like to see them do. But it hadn't been a terrible tedder. They've been pretty good. We've got a lot of ground through both of them. We have 2 of these. But let's get started on this thing and we'll start tearing it apart. Okay, you've got to take this guard bar off in order to get a roll pin out of a top piece. I'm also going to take off that pivots this thing, or you can't get a hammer in there or any kind, whether it's air or whatever, in there to be able to drive it out with a punch. It's a pain in the rear end. So the easiest thing to do is just pull this guard bar off and set it down. I haven't been on YouTube in a little while because of what's been going on with the babies. They are here. They are home, and everything is good now, and everything's healthy, but they were born on the 9th, which is 10 days ago. I haven't really posted any videos other than one I had made already, and then I haven't really answered any comments or anything either, because everything else has been going on. I've just been dealing with all that. We had the babies, had a little boy and a little girl on the 9th of April. It was a C-section. They are twins, but they are not identical, and at all, or they don't even really look similar at all. One of them, the boy looks like me, and the girl looks like my wife. It's kind of funny how they came out that way. But they had some fluid on their lungs, and they had to go into the NICU for several days, and we couldn't see them due to the coronavirus and everything. We actually got to bring home our daughter the day we left the hospital with my wife after the C-section, but my son actually had to stay. We left Sunday on Easter, and he had to stay till the upcoming Wednesday. So he was there 2 full days without us being there, and we couldn't go see him at all. That's the sucky part right now with this virus going on, is they're allowed no one in the NICU, even with you can't even see the kids in it. But here we go.
I'm on to the next step, and we got to get this roll pin out of this. There's an inner and an outer roll pin. I already got the inner out. It's the easy one. The reason why I done this, which I probably already talked about it, well, I know I have. Y'all know why I got rid of it. So we got to get that out. I'm probably going to try to cheat and use the air hammer a little bit to get it out, because you can't, even with this moved, you still ain't got a whole lot of room in here to work to get this thing out. And this is the one that's one of the ones that's always a pain in the rear end to get out. And then we got to get this thing pried up off of there too. I can honestly say I've never done that before. Never held an air hammer and hit another punch with it. But that worked a heck of a lot better than trying to get a hammer in there and beat it out. That was a lifesaver, just doing that. Alright, now we've got to pull this shaft out of the center. Now for this part, there's a locking ring right here. There's another one right here on this one. I've got to get this one off so that way when this one comes out, it can clear it. You can force it past it, but I wouldn't recommend it. I have done that. It's a little iffy, but hopefully I can just get this little gear star right here to come off, and then we won't have to do that. Then we can just slide that whole shaft out. There's one here. And there's 2 here. Sorry, I'm blocking y'all's view trying to get in here. This is not a fun job at all. I know I'm making it look easy, but I've done this I don't know how many times. So it makes it appear easier than it is. I get some 90-degree ones. We are not far from starting to bale hay. I am way behind. Y'all know me, if you've been watching me for a while, normally I'd have all of it done months ago. That thing is not going to want to come out, I guarantee you. I may have to do it the way I don't like to do it. Probably just gonna have to try to knock it past them teeth, which you can do it, but it's not easy at all. A lot of hard driving. Yeah. The only bad thing about these knuckle joints, trying to get them apart. Alright, let me go down to the other animal, take the clamp off it, and then we're going to start trying to drive it through. Alright, I drove past a little bit here. See if I can't work this little sprocket thing out. Get this thing out of here. See if I can't drive it some more. Try hitting it some more. Maybe we'll finally hit it.
So this is not the proper way to do this, but it's the it works. Like, especially when you can't get that other piece off, and you won't break it unless you just get crazy trying to pry it out. Just the best thing is take your time and it'll work. But we did get the babies home. They got all the fluid off their lungs. It did take a little while, which is normal. That's normal with twins, because they generally have to take them a couple weeks early than their normal due date, because they can't let them go full term, because there's more of a chance of stillborn. But they were full term babies. They were not preemies, but their due date was the 28th, and they were taken on the 9th. But everybody's healthy and everybody's home finally, and we are on the cusp of baling hay, and there's going to be a lot of fix and repair videos coming up on equipment, because we are in a mad dash trying to get all this stuff done now. Spraying as far as hay fields is over. We like the cow pastures, but Dad's focusing on those while I try to get all this equipment ready. Normally I'd have had all this done months ago, which I'll say later in this video. Y'all probably hear me. It's kind of muffly in this building with the echo. But we got everybody home and everybody's good. Hopefully I can get to more of a normal routine in the next couple of weeks. So, see y'all later. Go get a bigger pry bar. I might have to go find me a rod to beat it with. Alright, I went and got me a big long rod, and now I think I got pretty well loose. Get it on out. There it comes. There we go. Come on out there. Lord have mercy. Alright, I got it out. Hold on a minute, let me get you. I got it out. This is what is such a pain with a shaft, is it has these keyways. There's two in the center. I think it's just one on that end, and there's two on this end. That runs through this machine, and these keyways fall out. Now I'm gonna have to, when I go back to get them, I'm gonna have to take a magnet and fish all those keyways out that's inside that tube, and then stick them back in there, and then you've got to try to line all that back up with those gears, and there's those collars in there that it slides into to get it timed right, and then hope that the keyways don't fall out in the process. Now y'all know why I cuss this thing so much. I don't know how many times I've had to do this. So the way I got it out is I took a piece of this square shaft that went into the marlers back there in that project I had left to drive the seed cups, and I used it to drive it out the other end. So I wound up and got it the rest of the way out. It is a little bit rustier than it normally is, but I mean it's 8 years old. It's got 8 seasons through it. I'll probably take a die grinder and just kind of with some pads and shave that rust off, so that way that thing will slide a little better up in there. But that's got that part apart now, and you have to take that out in order to get the piece out that's messed up. So now I've got to take the loader and I've got to pick this whole thing up off the ground, and I've got to pull that wheel off. I may go ahead before I do that while the wheel's on it, and it might be easier to do it that way, and go ahead and get that off. I'm going to attempt to use this air hammer. I don't know how this is going to work. I ain't never done this, but it works good doing it the other way. I'm going to try it. I got a flat bladed chisel tip on it. Just try to wedge it up.
piece that's messed up. So this guy come out the bottom. Now, I remember now how I gotta get it out. What you gotta do now is I gotta pull this bolt out. Normally there's a big roll pin in there, but they kept breaking all the time. That's one of the things that caused this to happen, is those would break, or these pins would break, the wheel would drop down and it'd catch, it'd jerk it around when it hung on these here. It'd spin it around, break that pin, and bend that. So now I've got to get this bolt out so I can drop that piece down, so I can get this star off, and then I've got to take these bolts out of this gearbox and drop the whole gearbox assembly out to get that piece out. There it is. That's the piece that I was talking about. That shaft that runs through the center of that gearbox assembly goes right through here, and this is what allows this thing to pivot side to side on those wheels, so that way it can change the angle at which it pitches the hay. Well, we've had these shafts twist on each end. There's another pin right here through this collar that goes through this pin. It's been bent before. Then we've had this end here, this whole piece on the top of this cast twist, and have to have it put back. I mean, just a range of things, but you could tell by looking at the holes, they'll probably have to be built back up and re-drilled to straighten it out. That's probably what it is, but it could be twisted down here too on this roll pin, or pin that goes through this piece. So we'll just have to send it to the machine shop. They'll check everything and mark it and make sure everything's true and straighten it out, and then when I get it back, I'll put it all back. The other side's had this done to it. This in here has never had it done on this side. The other one that we have, I believe, has had it done on both of them, but this, I think, is the only one left that I hadn't done it to yet. So they'll have to true that back up and fix it. So that's it, all that work just to get that piece out. I had to pull the guard off, the adjuster to turn it left and right. You've got to pull the tire wheels, or the tire and axle off, that piece off that holds it, then the gearbox and the star. Everything's got to drop out to get that one piece out. The real fun part is getting that shaft back in and everything lined up right. That's the really fun part. So thank y'all for watching. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. This is why I really don't like these tethers, is because this happens a lot. Generally, it used to happen once a year. We've gotten lucky. The last 2 years it hadn't happened, but up until, well, the end of last year it did happen, and we just parked the tether. But it generally happens to one of them once a year. There's no reason for it. We'll be riding across the field, won't hit a pothole or nothing. Sometimes those pins break and the wheel drops down.
and it spins around and causes it. I have had it to happen just riding across the field, no pins break or nothing, and it come up tracking wrong. The axles have bent multiple times, but this has happened a few times, 3 times before now. This will be the 4th time I've had to do this. It is not fun to do at all. It's just poor engineering on the centers, on the parts that hold them up. And during the time that this tedder was built, I hadn't looked. I think that the newest, like last year, they finally updated these things to where their 6-star is different. But for the longest time, the 6-star was no different than this one, and then it had the extra 2 stars folding on top. The carrying system, everything was exactly the same. They weren't any beefier or nothing. And I would not have had one of them if just going through what I've went through with this one being a 4-star with all that extra weight. But it's been a good tedder, don't get me wrong. But it's like anything. It's got its ups and downs and quirks that are just a pain in the rear end. And when it breaks, it's a pain in the rear end. One thing I wanted to show y'all, though, I do like about these is the shaft. While I got it out, it's extra heavy. That's the main drive on this thing. The Vicon we had before these was built about like that one, folded up, same size and everything. Had the same stature to it, but Vicon stuff just ain't built quite as heavy. It's more of an economy line stuff. Their shaft that went through the center of it was just like this nearly. It might have been I think this is a 9/16. It might have been like a 5/8 or something. Metric size, but it wasn't much bigger than that, and it was bad to give trouble. And we constantly were having issues with that, so it was one reason why we got rid of it. Like the Krone a heck of a lot better than it. Really would like to try a Peckaway one day, which we probably will in the next one. I wouldn't be against trying a Massey either, or a Vermeer, one of the 3. So thank y'all for watching. Please comment, rate, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.